Members, I think we're now available to our public, so we will make a start. Are there any apologies for absence, please?
We have apologies from Councillor Hutton, Crawford and Whitcomb.
Thank you. And do we have an apology from the Town Clerk?
And the Town Clerk.
Thank you very much. I also understand the press consider that Callington's going to be more interesting than we are tonight, so they've gone there rather than come here. Lord only knows what's happening in Callington, but... Really? Well, it could be. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Does anyone have any declarations of interest they wish to make? If not, and it becomes apparent to you later on that there are interests which you wish to declare, please catch my eye and let me know. So if we move on then to item 3, which is the minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday the 17th of October. Are there any errors or omissions on page 1, on page 2, page 3, page 4?
On page 2, 171C, Assistant to Town Clerk wants to update.
I'm dealing with any errors or omissions for a minute. Page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6 and page 7. All happy that I sign them? Okay. Right, if we come to matters arising, first of all 171A on the vacancy. I don't know if this has been officially communicated to everyone yet, but I think we should record it in the minutes. We do now have someone in that vacancy who, I have to say, name escapes me at the moment, but no doubt somebody can help me.
Councillor Crawford.
Councillor Crawford, who has signed all the documents, I gather, and did give her apologies for today, so that's that one. I was going to raise, anyway, 171C, but a little 2. I think the Assistant to the Clerk wishes to raise that.
Just on the point regarding training, which was requested by members, I have tried to find training from West Devon Borough Council on planning and licensing. I've been unsuccessful, I'm afraid. I've not had any response regarding planning training at all to my request. Licensing training, they've told me that they are unable to provide it. I've therefore gone to the Devon Association of Local Councils. They have said that the earliest they could provide planning training is either Monday the 26th or Tuesday the 27th of March 2018. Now, basically I need you to tell me if you want me to pursue that or whether you want me to try and carry on and get a response from West Devon Borough Council.
Councillor Ewing, please.
I would have said, particularly for the licensing training, Plymouth City Council may be much better. That's who West Devon Borough Council used when we were first trained on it. We all went to Plymouth. And as for their planning training, I don't think it's really going to be worth that much to us. I think it is better to maybe pursue going through DALC and waiting, or maybe asking Plymouth City Council about that.
Anyone else got any comments? Mr Deputy Mayor, sir.
I must say I'm disappointed that the local planning authority seems unable to help us with planning training, as I thought it would be particularly helpful to hear from a local planning authority officer what they expected from our committee. However, having said that, I would welcome the offer of any training for our committee members, and if that means waiting until March, so be it. But I just reiterate I'm very disappointed in the LPA.
I will actually go back to them because, in fact, Borough Council has supplied a lot of training for planning for various parish councils, and they're quite keen to come and talk to parish and town councils. So I'm not quite sure why we're not getting a response, but I will actually make a note to do something about that myself and make sure that we get some. It'll be planning training for the whole council, so you know, and it has been very well received at lots of other parish councils that I've been to when it's been delivered. So I don't understand why the lack of response, but I will deal with that. Licensing, I don't know. I was a bit surprised at that as well. I'm not sure why. Is it just that they simply don't do licensing training? No. Or they wouldn't do this licensing?
She said that they don't do licensing training. I went back to her and asked who had provided their training, and I've never had a reply.
Right. Okay. I mean, to be fair, I don't think I've ever had any licensing training from West Devon. I've had licensing training in West Devon. It's always been supplied by external organisations, and I've gone away on courses, whole day courses. It's a nightmare once you start going into it. So, do you want to sign up for licensing for the dark course in whenever it is?
Licensing they can't provide.
Oh, right. So you need to find that somewhere else, and I'll try and sort the planning out. I think, because Pat Weimer is actually normally keen to come and do those things because it, actually helps his job, so I'll follow that one up. Anything else on that? No. Right. So if we move on, then under matters rising still, 177, the man engine. I have raised that myself at the Borough Council, and I'm told that no agreement has yet been reached to close the car park in Bedford Square. In fact, the last information I was given was that no request had been made to close the car park in Bedford Square, and that things weren't moving ahead. I pointed out that tickets were actually available for sale, according to the stuff that was on all the various sites, and yet the whole thing hasn't apparently been agreed. So, Councillor Mrs Johnson.
Sorry, just a question of clarification. Do you mean the car park in Bedford car park?
Yes.
You said the car park in Bedford Square?
I meant Bedford car park, yeah.
Thank you.
But no, up to about a week ago, no request had been received to have access to close it. So I really don't know whether we've heard any more as a town council.
No.
So no one's approached us. Councillor Sheldon.
I think we had an email about the Bedford car park to say that it would be closed, and whether we had any comments or objections.
What, do you mean this is the...
The man engine?
Yeah, but this is for the councillors from West Devon who are representing Tavistock, is it?
Yes.
Right, because the rest of us haven't seen anything.
Yeah, well, I'll send it to, well, I can't, I'll just, basically, it's just to say whether we had any objections or comments about it being closed. And so it has been addressed, so
right.
Something is going
okay,
on.
well, it hadn't been when I last asked, but obviously
yeah, I'll have a look at
my
the
request to be kept informed has been ignored.
Doesn't matter now, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay. That was all that I had in terms of matters arising that are not covered by tonight's agenda. Does anyone else have any matter arising which is not covered by tonight's agenda? No? Moving on then to item 4, General Finance, Schedule of Payments. Any questions, problems, queries? If not, are you happy to endorse them?
Yeah.
Okay. Item B, the Budget Monitoring Report. Again, questions or comments? If not, are you happy to endorse?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Item C, Internal Auditor. Any questions or comments? No? Okay, so you're happy to endorse those as well? Councillor Johnson.
I think there's probably a spelling mistake in the last recommendation. I think the last sentence should be written back rather than written bank in its entirety to the income and expenditure account.
Right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're happy? Yep. Item D, Goose Fair Park and Ride, Lions, payments enclosed. We're being asked, I think, there to agree to a payment of £1,000 per Lions Club.
Certainly prepared to move that, Mr Mayor.
Yep. Seconded.
I need to declare an interest in my brother's a member of the Lions Club.
Fine. Councillor Ewing, please.
It's actually 1,250 to 1,000. So you're recommending 1,000, are you, Mr Mayor?
No, I'm reading the last paragraph of the Town Clerk's letter dated November 2017, where it says, in the circumstances, the Council is invited to recognise the contribution by way of grants, and circumstances may wish to consider an award of £1,000. It's been proposed, you're seconding it, eh? Okay.
I
Councillor.
declare an interest on a landowner on which Parkham Line operates. Well, I'm director of the company that owns the land.
Thank you. All happy with the £1,000? Yeah. Okay. Item E, notice of appointment of external auditor. I guess we're simply being asked to note that, are we? Happy to note?
Yeah.
Okay, move on to the Budget and Policy Committee to consider the minutes, which are attached. I will go through these 191, 192 and 193.
193, Mr Mayor.
Yep, Councillor Smith.
Yeah, although we are not formally proposing the budget tonight, what we're looking at in this report from the Budget and Policy Committee will be, with a few minor changes, will be our budget going forward. Clearly, the matter of the level of the General Reserve is highlighted in much in the minute, and it was a matter of quite a long discussion at the committee. And all members of this council had the papers for that meeting, and within the papers there was an explanation or an expansion of an explanation to the situation, which was to allow for a full understanding of where we are now currently and where we will be or hope to be going forward. We can see from paragraphs A to J on page 3 that the committee considered a wide range of matters before coming to those recommendations that come before us tonight. I just want to comment briefly on a few areas. Firstly, refers to Roman 2A in the recommendations, and I'm thankful to all members who came to the informal meeting last night. I'm pleased with the conversations which took place and support given to Appendix 1 circulated for that meeting. Hopefully, the situation with regard to the Guildhall project now holds no mystery for any member of this authority. With the Council's financial presentation to be independently verified, which is this Council's wish, the progress being made with Tavistock Hedges Trust to be examined, and hopefully when we get permission to start, we will hit the ground running. Members will also be aware that in the report to Budget and Policy, the recommendation in 5B, Roman 4, sought to defer totally any work beyond that needed to house the depot at the recently purchased Molly Owen Centre. This meant defer indefinitely. I was of the opinion, and made it clear at the committee, that such a move was way out of line with Council discussions prior to the purchase. Discussions at Budget and Policy moved the situation to the situation where we'll be reconsidering the status in May of 2018. In the recommendations being considered tonight, 5B and 5C are in a way linked, because some of the proposals made by members when discussing the purchase of the property and during the debate on the budget and the effect on the budget going forward. We did hear last night that things financial might be delicately balanced, but the matter of where the financial years start and finish over the next 2 years might lead to the balance being slightly less delicate. I support all of the recommendations and would propose, Mr Mayor, that these be accepted tonight.
Thank you for that. Councillor Palfrey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. With reference to...
Enlevez-vous, s'il vous plaît.
193,
Get up.
recommendation, Roman 2, Guildhall. Right.
That's better.
I've given this project considerable thought and consider it could be benefits to Tavistock as a whole. More business opportunities, increased visitors, a raised profile for the town, etc. However, there are several risks which cause me concern. My first is the projected increase in capital and running costs. These costs are likely to run to a significant amount for the project, and the burden of that cost will fall onto preset players. There's little or less chance of receiving income from this project, so it will continue to be a net cost to Tavistock for as long as it has ownership. A commitment to this amount of money would mean that future projects would be at risk, either running on a severely reduced budget or not running at all. If the building were to be mothballed, I would suggest that this would still come in with less cost and liability than the project. The project is a legacy I do not feel comfortable with. We have discussed at length in this chamber the problems that have arisen from previous council actions regarding terms, use and occupancy of its buildings, and even decisions made to acquire property. There's a fundamental difference in that previous properties have been income generating, albeit not always fulfilling the revenue potential. The Guildhall will not do this. I have also concerns on how the long-term viability of our partner in this. The original numbers of visitors they anticipate has now significantly fallen. This is a knock-on effect of both making the venue underutilised and therefore less feasible, and of reducing their potential revenue stream. I have doubts the availability and continued recruitment of sufficient volunteers to run the venue. If they fail, it will almost certainly fall on TTC to take over, at least in the short term. Again, a further call on finance. We are already supplying funds to the partner. We go to HLF to rescind the application. So what? Surely it's better to be a little shamefaced but realistic. Surely it's better than having difficulties in the future with all the costs and penalties that would occur. HLF won't deal with us anymore. Would that truly be the case? Would it be a bad thing? I would suggest that it would then make it clear to us as a council that we can only spend money that we have available. We would be directly accountable to it. It would focus our minds. As yet, I'm not persuaded towards this project, but I accept whatever the final outcome materialises. Thank you.
Thank you. Procedurally, I would remind members at the moment we have a proposal on the table which has yet to be seconded. Councillor Smith proposed that the items at the bottom of page 3, starting with little Roman numeral 1 and then continuing overleaf, I get really confused because we go little Roman numeral 1 and 2, then into A, B, C, D, E, and then we go back into 3, 4 and 5, and Councillor Smith has proposed that those recommendations be accepted en bloc. I don't know if there is a seconder for that proposal at this stage. Councillor Sheldon, you're happy to second. Members, is there any other member wishing to speak in the debate at this time? Councillor Williamson, you look as though you might be about to, but can't decide whether you want to or not. There's no pressure, you don't have to speak if you don't want to.
All I'd say is that Councillor Palfrey mentioned a number of hypothetical questions to which we've discussed at length, and it was more perhaps a statement than a question, but I accept his position in having severe doubts about the project. I, in another meeting, have expressed my views, which are to the contrary, and I maintain those views. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Any other member wish to speak? Councillor Mrs Johnson, did you wish to add anything at this point or no? Councillor Mrs Ewing, no? Anyone else? Sorry? Well, I think item 7 on the agenda is effectively redundant if this proposal goes through. So if you want to speak, maybe you want to do so now. The proposal from Councillor Smith, which has been seconded, is that, and if you look at A, Guildhall review the position further following an informal meeting of all councillors. So it would be an opportunity if you want to raise it at this point, but...
What I would say is, over the last 5 years, at least, we have been looking at this we went to a lot of hard work to actually acquire the Guildhall for this town, because it was in jeopardy of becoming flats and apartments, and we felt that was a wrong use of such a facility that is the town people's property. We are only custodians of such things, and we felt that as a council at that stage that we wanted to keep the Guildhall as a public property. So yes, we went ahead and we've bought it. We've done a lot of work to it in just keeping it watertight and things like that. I've had many worries, I think is the right word. It has kept me awake at night on occasion about what we're getting ourselves into, whether our confidence in Tavistock Heritage Trust is well placed or totally misplaced. You know, some days I think, yes, they're doing okay and everything else, and then something happens and then it causes worries. But we have invested a lot of money already so far. The bit that I raised last night and said was that we may not have to financially support this facility for all that time. We are only having to say to HLF that we will be the guarantors of it. It does not mean that we will actually be having to pay it out. And I think my pot is half full, and that I believe that they can become a business and they can achieve it. There are many ways which town councils and charities, I think you are a charity now, aren't you?
Yes.
Can look at getting funding and events in different towns in this country that have the sort of facilities like that, that can really make it work. And this facility does need to work. And Tavistock Heritage Trust, their board of trustees, you trustees or directors?
Trustees.
Trustees are well aware of what is happening. And
Well, technically, sorry, I should probably get that right. Technically, as it's now a company, they're directors, but they prefer to be known as trustees. But in law, they're directors of a company.
Whatever, but we've gone a long way down this road. If we had our doubts and everything, we really should have kicked it into touch a while ago. But we have kept with it. The general manager and his team, to put it in the vernacular, have worked their backsides off for this and have worked extremely hard. They have met targets. We have met with HLF on many occasions. We're working with the partners to make this facility work. This isn't just about Tavistock Town Council in one sense, it's about a partnership. But yes, I totally accept the butt stops with Tavistock Town Council as well. It's a very different, difficult situation, because we work with many partners. We, as Tavistock Town Council, do not have a place on Tavistock Heritage Trust, so actually they can almost sort of do what they like, but we have to carry the can, and that has been quite difficult to sort of get our heads around, and whether that does change in the future, who knows. But we, I think, have a duty to make this work for our town, and to bring our economy to the fore for the businesses of this town, to have confidence in Tavistock Town Council that we believe in this, because it's saying we believe in them as well. We need to get more visitors to this town. I believe that brown sign that would send somebody to Tavistock from the M5 would actually cost us a fortune, because there are no signs for Tavistock until you get to Oakhampton. And then, as the Mayor so eloquently put it last night, if they don't turn left, we've had it. And people, there's not any reason for them to turn left. We have to come up with reasons. Tavistock Heritage Trust have an excellent person that is dealing with their PR and their marketing. And we just have to place our faith with that. And after 15 years of being sat here, I am still prepared to put my faith in that organisation. And I would be the first to yell at them if it starts going wrong. But we just have to do this for Tavistock, for our people, to show that we believe and we care about our town and its facilities and what we offer. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else want to comment? Councillor Squire, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to say I was surprised that this item is being included within this particular agenda number. I thought it was going to be a separate item to be discussed more fully. However, if this is the case, I'd like to speak to it now. I share the same concerns as Councillor Palfrey, albeit that my concerns probably have only taken 12 months in gestation rather than the 15 years. And I do appreciate the meeting that was held last night, which was a considerable effort in helping me come to terms with what is quite a complex and a long-term investment. I do have my concerns about it, and arguably I am possibly not as involved in the heritage and history of the town as I should be. I'm much more concerned about the investment which will take place on a contemporary nature. However, I do appreciate what councillors are saying here about the amount of effort and work has gone into this, and as such it's inevitably almost a juggernaut of effort which would be very hard and arguably even foolish to stop now. However, I do want to register my concern as to it being a viable project, which I have concerns about enough to warrant me speaking in this possibly negative way about it. That being the case, whatever the council decide, I would seek to support it, and I would endeavour to put my contribution towards it. However, I feel that such a proposal warrants this comment to be made and to be recognised as a possible voice of some members of the town.
Thank you very much. That's helpful. It's not a question of shutting down. This is the way that I think the way the agenda's been constructed is actually quite difficult to handle, because if we go ahead without having the discussion now and approve the proposal that's on the table, it does effectively negate item 7. I don't understand why it's happened like that. It's a bit difficult to work out, but there is plenty of opportunity now for anyone to have anything that they want to have to say or discuss or debate. If anyone... Councillor Palfrey.
Just for clarity, Mr. Mayor, if we vote on 194, that's if we take the vote as proposed, we vote on every last bit of that. So if someone agrees or disagrees with any one point, they would vote accordingly, but it would affect all the other things as well. So what I'm trying to say is, if I agree with
Palfrey, I'm perfectly happy.
But disagree with B,
I'm perfectly happy to ask Councillor Smith if he's willing to amend his proposal that we don't take these all en bloc. If he's not willing to do that, then effectively he has moved them en bloc, so we would need to take them that way. But Councillor Smith may be willing to amend that. If it's entirely up to him, really.
Mr. Mayor, if it's I believe possibly what Councillor Palfrey is suggesting is a way which gives councillors opportunity to vote whichever way they wish to on the various parts, the various constituent parts of the recommendation. I'm quite happy, Mr. Mayor, if you're happy to take them one by one.
Thank you, that's helpful. Councillor Mrs. Ewing.
If that is the case, then all it says for little a is Guildhall review the position further following an informal meeting of all councillors. So actually then item 7 would be where you're actually taking a decision. This is only a review. It doesn't say it's making a decision.
I don't think item 7 is either, is it? That item 7 is under the items circulated for information only, so it's not a decision matter.
Well,
it's a very
where
strange...
are we making a decision then? Because that word is review the position. Doesn't say make a decision.
I'm aware of that. No, you're quite right. But we need to move the proceeding forward, and Looking for the bit on the other one. Yeah. But if you look back on page 3 to little d, it says progress of Guildhall Gateway Centre project, more specifically risks, opportunities and matters associated with potential affordability. The project in view of the deteriorating public sector economic environment. The recommendation arising from that is that it is reviewed, the position's reviewed, following an informal meeting. The informal meeting is taking place, so now it's up to us to review. Now, you have a proposal from Councillor Smith that we endorse that. Whether or not you need to take it any further to have a decision made on a separate agenda item put forward to a future meeting, I'm not sure.
Can I make a suggestion? Would it be that somebody could actually make a formal recommendation within that?
It's quite possible. So let's try and deal with this one at a time. Then, first of all, members, we have a recommendation that the Council endorse the prioritisation of measures to ensure the General Reserve operates at a satisfactory level. Does anybody wish to debate that? Councillor Mrs. Yates.
I would like to make an amendment to that, or make a proposal to go forward as a recommendation.
This is the prioritisation of measures on General Reserve, is it?
No, little a, Guildhall review the...
We haven't got to that yet.
Oh,
over
we're
the
not.
page.
All right then, sorry.
Is everyone happy with Roman numeral little 1 on page 3?
Mr. Mayor, I'll move it. For it's eminent sense to. It's really a statement, but it's eminently sensible.
Yeah, I mean, I've assumed that you and Councillor Sheldon have already moved all of these. We're just going to vote on them separately, so they've all been moved and seconded appropriately. Does anyone have any issues with little 1 on page 3? No. Little 2, with regard to the capital programme, the Council A. Now, Councillor Mrs. Ewings wishes to make an addition or an amendment to that.
That Tavistock Town Council moves. Oh, I don't know how to word this. That.
Following the review of the position after at an informal council meeting, you move that the Guildhall project proceeds?
Yes.
Is there a seconder for that amendment? Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. Right, members, do you wish to debate that amendment? Okay, so we need to vote on that amendment. First of all, those in favour of that amendment, please show. That's clearly carried. That now becomes a substantive motion. So the motion before us now is that under little a is that the Guildhall project proceeds as currently configured, I think, isn't it? Or as thing. So those in favour of that, please show. The ones who aren't too busy talking, that is. Thank you. Any against? Well, that's clearly carried as well. If we move on to B, the Molly Owen Centre. It's been moved and seconded. Any debate, Councillor? Mrs.
No, that was getting on with the vote.
Right. All happy with that? Thank you. C, any debate on that?
No.
Okay, all happy with that?
Yeah.
Capital programme savings?
Agreed.
Does anybody wish to just debate? No?
That's agreed.
No.
Okay. And E?
Agreed.
All happy with that? Yeah. Right. Council fees and charges.
Agreed.
Item 4, which is the draft budget. The budget will come back before this council at a future date, but it is being prepared on the basis of an increase of 9.5% for Band D property. Any debate on that? Agreed. Okay. Item 5, any surpluses? All happy with that? Okay, thank you. So if we move on to 194, neighbourhood development, we didn't have any updated budget and policy. I don't know whether Councillor Ward has anything to add. No. And 195, the Pennon shareholding. I don't know that we've actually had the exploration of the costs and benefits done yet, have we?
No update.
Okay. So I will move those because we then get into part 2, which we'll deal with later. So seconder for that. Thank you. All agreed? Right. Okay, so that's dealt with that. We're now on to item 6, DM and LC. I understand that Councillor Venning is dealing with 6A.
Yeah, so the
Yeah. Sorry? Yeah.
I submit that we accept the record as it stands.
Is there a seconder for that? Thank you. All in favour? Okay. Councillor Ward, I think, is now going to deal with B, 21st of November.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A meeting of the Development Management and Licensing Committee took place on the 21st of November. You have the minutes. I would venture to suggest that there was nothing of great import or controversy, and I move that they be accepted by Council.
Okay, seconder for that. Thank you. All in favour? Items circulated for information only. We've dealt with the Guildhall report. There's nothing more to debate on that, I think. Item 8, service reports. General Manager. Councillor Mrs Ewing. Thank goodness somebody's going to give him a hard time.
No, I did speak to the General Manager last night about his, under cost code 903-5202 on page 1, that it looks like the doors are going to cost £551,589.49. I have discovered I am not the only person in this room that read it as that. Well, in fact, there's several of us. So if that could be slightly amended, please. Otherwise, people will think we're having gold front doors.
We are. Would the General Manager care to venture a sum that should go in there?
Out of the 551, there's 90,000 which is allocated towards the doors. 89,000 in fact.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else on the General Manager's report?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
It's not really a question, it's just to really to congratulate ourselves, really, because the work that's been done in the Butcher's Hall, I had a look at it a few days ago, absolutely fantastic. Particularly the two end walls, really impressive. Heating going in, lighting going in, all on ahead of schedule. We really should be congratulating ourselves. It's a really good job's been done there.
Okay.
I'd like to second that. I've been in the scene. It's brilliant.
Okay. Anything else on the General Manager's report? I understand the easement to Bannerwell Street, the reinstatement works handover has now taken place. Yep, Councillor Palfrey.
Under projects Christmas lights, could we as a council congratulate the Works Department for the speedy installation of the lights to enable the lights to be put on for the wedding reception in the town hall? I think it's over and above and it needs comment and our appreciation shown.
Thank you very much. I would agree. Councillor Mrs Johnson, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Can I just mention the Meadows Play Park? I have been talking to the General Manager over a period of time about the wet condition of the play park. It's quite muddy down there. And I know that money is tight, but we do need to do something about making it better than it is, because it's, I mean, children need their Wellington boots on at least down there, and some of it is not at all. You know, if you're taking children down, you don't want them to get absolutely plastered in it. So I am pleased to see that we are looking at that position, and I would hope that something to improve the situation can be done before too long. I do understand that we might be able to get some Section 106 funding for it, but then you can't start the work before the money comes in, so that's time limited. So I do think we need to be careful about that. I don't know if the General Manager would like to comment on it.
No comment. It's been his response to everything else tonight, but you never know.
I'll go for it this time.
Okay.
Basically, we've had 3 quotes come through to do the appropriate wet pour surfacing because the grass matting isn't sufficient with the drainage issues down there. To undertake all the areas which we need to carry out is in the region of about £50,000. The 2 areas of priority, in my opinion, are the toddlers' play area and the hurricane swing. And those 2 areas which having wet pour surfacing and 2 bespoke soakaways installed would be in the region of 35,000. So I'm currently looking at our existing budgets and seeing if we can arrange for £35,000 to be taken off other budget heads. So probably next time round I'll be coming to council asking for a potential environment of funds.
Does everyone know what wet pour is?
There's 3 types of, well, 4 types of surfacing, 5 types of safety surfacing. With regards to play parts, you can have safety surfacing, which is just the actual grass itself, depending on the full height. We've currently got in the meadows a lot of grass matting, which has the same absorbency as wet pour and tiles, etc. But there are issues with regards to drainage down there, so the mud comes up through the grass matting. With regards to wet pour, it's the equivalent of tyre crumbs, which are adhered together to perform a solid surface. Very similar to, we've had the roundabout recently installed in the meadows, that surface in there. Extremely expensive, the most expensive option, but obviously the most effective in relation to drainage issues because you'll put a sub-base in first of all.
Okay, Councillor Squire was next, I think.
Thank you very much. I would support this item because next to potholes and scaffolding, this is the most frequent representation I've had from members of the public. The swamp known as Benson Meadows needs to be addressed and is undoubtedly part of the backdrop to my concern about expenditure on the Guildhall. Looking at contemporary investment in our play areas and our public areas is a crucial aspect. And the members of the public, so they're preferring to go to Oakhampton Meadows or Park for preference to avoid the mud. Now, this is sorely to be not appreciated by a member of Tavistock Council, so I said that we would bring this up as an issue. So I support Councillor Johnson's concern about this and grateful that the General Manager has some understanding and appreciation of its importance. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ewings, please.
If this work is to be done now-ish, does that mean that the Section 106 money that was coming our way for another development, could that be used for something else then, if the work to the grounds is going to be done before the money comes in?
We have had conversations with West Devon Borough Council, and we can potentially, we have to, I think, lobby West Devon Borough Council members, but we can potentially undertake the work at risk and potentially have that money earmarked back to safety surfacing. I know where you're going with regards to your thought process, but we have actually...
Care to explain that to Councillor Ewings? She doesn't know where she's going.
The challenge is having a potential flagship piece of equipment, which was the original designs, would be in the region of about 100,000 for that piece of equipment. We also have currently in that area installed the brig and the roundabout, and probably we'd have to undertake planning permission for that piece of equipment because of the height as well. So there are an awful lot of challenges in and around that thought process.
I take it the brig hasn't sunk.
The brig is still afloat, just.
It's a relief. It seems to be one of the most popular pieces of kit down there as far as I can figure out, actually. Anything else on the General Manager's report that anyone wants to raise? Yes.
I feel as if I'm bobbing up and down like a yo-yo tonight. I think as a council we do need to acknowledge the work that CLC have done with the front of Duke Street. I think as a council we should have that amenity. It looks absolutely stunning. All the rainwater goods, all the windows, everything. It looks really good, and the properties look just resplendent at the moment. And, you know, if we can pass our thanks as a council to CLC for the standard of work that has been carried out. And I just wish Lloyds had now took their scaffolding down.
Thank you. And under the operational update, I noticed there's an issue about converting dog control orders, and views need to be received by the 1st of December. Does this council need to make any comment on that, or is this something being dealt with by officers?
We undertook quite a comprehensive survey last time with members around the areas that they wanted dogs on leads, etc. I would have assumed our position would probably not change in relation to the areas listed below for dogs on leads on my report. But I'm happy to take representation forward if there are any other areas members want considered.
Could you first of all explain for the benefit of the members what the difference is between a dog control order and a public space protection order?
That's a very good question.
It's quite difficult to give a view on it if you don't know what the difference is.
My understanding that dog control orders were, there's new legislation which is in place, and in relation to dog control orders there isn't going to be any difference. We just need to go through this new legislation and do the same consultation process so that the actual bylaws, etc., or the schedules that we've got with the previous dog control orders can be enforceable in relation to dogs on leads.
Okay, thank you for that. I would just say for Councillor Squire's benefit, we've been very, very successful in trying to deal with the dog fouling problem, because it obviously hasn't hit the high levels of some of the other issues that your electorate have been raising with you. That's quite encouraging.
Thank you for appreciating my consternation here.
Anything else on the General Manager's report? No. So if we move on then to the next item on the agenda, and I can't tell you what it is because I've lost the page, the Works Department report, which is enclosed.
Mr. Mayor.
Sorry?
Can I ask a question on that one?
Absolutely.
It's referenced the last bullet point on cemeteries. It says, the wording actually says, ongoing inspections of monuments, the cemetery assistant will begin recording findings onto PAIR, or, you know, the PAIR technology which we use for mapping all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the case that this is the beginning of the process, or is it that the new cemetery assistant is just beginning and he's going to follow on from work that was previously done, putting in stuff onto PAIR?
It's a good question. We currently use PAIR technology for a number of our mapping systems in relation to trees, benches, assets, etc. With regards to the inspection of monuments, we haven't currently transferred anything over to PAIR technology, and we are now using this new Trimble handheld, where you can take photographs and it logs with the GPS and then automatically transfers onto PAIR technology. So this is a start in relation to monuments, but we use PAIR technology for an awful lot of our other assets, etc.
Yeah, I was aware of it being used for trees, fire hydrants, Goose Fair, all sorts of other things, mapping in the Butcher's Hall. But I was just interested whether this was a progression from something previously, because obviously it's great benefit when you have them all registered, because you can search it electronically rather than those huge sheets of paper looking for various people or headstones or whatever you're looking for. You can do it via the photographs that you're taking on the Trimble, presumably.
Okay. Anything else on the Works Department report? No. So if we move on to the Town Hall report. Anything relating to that? Please do.
I'd like to just put a question to the General Manager. With the market traders moving into the Town Hall during the Pannier Market re-roofing, I wonder what is happening to existing regular daytime bookings. And I'm particularly thinking of the University of the Third Ages meeting on a Wednesday afternoon. Will those bookings in January, February, March and April be respected, or will they be cancelled? And if the latter, has the U3A been informed of that?
Deputy Mayor, I need to come back to you on that question.
Thank you.
It's quite ominous. Anyone else got any other questions on the Town Hall report? And the Pannier Market report, which is also enclosed. I have a question myself. Where we show the income and expenditure for the Garden Festival, it shows a profit of £289.42, but does that include staff time within the expenditure or not? It's got staffing at 1952 as expenditure. Does that mean that it's all been taken account of? So there's quite a lot of Councillor Mrs Johnson. Okay, yeah. There's an awful lot of staff time goes into it. I'm not knocking it. I just want to know if this is a true figure.
Staffing is allocated within the actual costings on the report.
Yeah, but does that include everything? The time spent in the offices up here as well as all the other bits and pieces? So it includes the staff time for the operatives within the Pannier Market, but it doesn't necessarily include the time that's put into...
We'll review that, but it should reflect the same kind of process as Goose Fair, where everything is recharged in relation to all costs across the organisation.
Okay, and before I come to Mrs Johnson, just taking a very simplistic look at the takings, it would suggest to me that we're not keeping pace with inflation. The takings are pretty much equal over the last 2 years, but inflation hasn't been stationary. It's an observation, perhaps nobody wants to make comment. Mrs Johnson, do you want to?
I'd say as far as the takings are concerned, Mr Mayor, it's an improved position from what we've seen over previous months, so things do look as if they're improving there. My question was about the income and expenditure for the Garden Festival. We've got the bar income, which of course, unless you've got the bar costs, doesn't make the thing correct. So I asked the Market Read this afternoon to produce the bar profit, which he tells me is 60% of the income, which leaves us a net profit of only £77.81. So if then you cost the staffing of the office, the whole staffing costs into it, it looks as if we actually might break even or even lose money on the Garden Festival. But I think the Town Council needs to be absolutely aware of exactly where they are with projects like this.
Thank you. Anyone else want to make a comment on that? I'm not suggesting we knock the Garden Festival on the head, but what I am suggesting is that we do need to look really carefully, because we could be subsidising it, and I don't think that would be an appropriate thing to do. No other comments? Fine. That deals with item 8, so if we move on to item 9, report of the Assistant to the Town Clerk, which I have read this month. Any questions? No? Fine. Southern Links note to the meeting. Councillor Mrs Johnson, please.
I'm encouraged to see that a small committee with Councillor Lamb was agreed to meet to arrange further training courses. I've been on some of these Southern Link training courses before. They're local, they're relevant to things that we're doing here in Tavistock and in the surrounding districts. So I'm encouraged to see this and look forward to seeing the list of courses available.
Mr Mayor, can I just add to that? I've been present at the meeting during the discussion, Like Councillor Mr Johnson said, there was a great appreciation of the courses that have taken place in the past.
Absolutely.
And really this all arose out of someone saying, why haven't we been having more courses taking place? And is there still money? And there is still money available. Therefore, hopefully the courses will take place.
Members will note there is a meeting scheduled for Thursday of this week. If there are any items that you wish to raise there, please let your representative, who is Councillor Smith, know so that he's in a position to raise them on Thursday, but he's just about to say I'm not going to be there on Thursday. Is that right?
That's right. It's the lighting of the tree of lights, and also there's another event taking place on that evening, which in the church, which we've all been invited to.
Well, I will be at Southern Link, so I can, if needs be, represent obviously the council. I said I will be at Southern Link, so if necessary, Councillor Smith can't be there, then I'm happy to represent the council at that event. But if there are any issues that anyone wants raised, then we need to know before Thursday night. I've forgotten what it's happening in the church, but I did know there was something. Oh, that's right, yeah. Well, I'm going to go and open the damn thing later in the week, so.
You're opening it on the next day, I believe.
I am indeed, yes. You know, it's good. Blah, blah, blah. I'm doing all sorts on that day, so it's a bit fraught. Okay, item C, Tavistock Bid Company. Minutes of the AGM.
Not you, Mr Mayor, but it's not on those particular set of minutes. I would like to just to advise the council that Councillor Mrs Ewings at the next meeting took up a very important position within bid, I believe.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Johnson.
I'd like Councillor Smith to expand on that, or Councillor Mrs Ewings to expand on that. Just to say on the third page, it says that the directors are Liz Kate Royston, but on the top of the page it said that she stood down, so that seems to be a bit of a contradiction. I assume that she shouldn't be there in that second listing.
She shouldn't.
Councillor Mrs Ewings.
I can't remember the grandiose title I've been given, but it is working with community groups and voluntary organisations for the bid. As I pointed out to them, that there are a lot of volunteers that come for nothing, that weren't being utilised through some of the bid work, and trying to get them more involved in some of the community events that are going on, that there's free people who are more than willing to help. So I have been given this role.
Congratulations. Moving on then, Whitchurch Down Consultative Group. Any comments, questions? Councillor Fenning? Get up.
I made a point that my name was left off. I did apologise that I didn't have that meeting.
Okay. So noted. It was an uneventful meeting. I was there. Destination Oakhampton. Okay, to Mrs Thompson.
Yes, I would like to say something about this. I didn't attend that meeting. I sent apologies because from the previous meeting, the date agreed of the next meeting was the 2nd of August, which I put in my diary. At the weekend before the 1st of August, they changed the dates, and I already had a prior engagement at Tavistock ATC on the 1st of August, which I wasn't prepared to change. I mean, my view is that if you set a date for a meeting, you should actually stick to it. There are obviously people much more important than I who couldn't attend on the 2nd of August, so they changed the date. I did send apologies, but they're not listed.
Thank you. Duly noted. Moving on then to Dartmoor National Park Authority Forum. It's closed if anyone has any queries or questions. No. And any update from or questions to representatives for other bodies? Does anyone around the table wish to let us know what you've been doing?
Well, it was in one of the reports, but the official opening of the Sensory Garden is to be held on the 20th of December.
And Angela Rippon will be in attendance.
Yeah, she will be in attendance. I think it's 11 o'clock, isn't it? 10:30?
Yeah, it's in my diary somewhere. What day did you say it was?
20th December.
Right, I'll tell you in just a minute. I've got it down as 10:50 for 11 o'clock, so the actual opening will occur at 11. Councillor Mrs Johnson.
Thank you. Just to update the council on matters at Kingdom House. A very exciting time for us. We had an open day, which was reported here that it was going to happen, and it actually happened. Very busy day, lots of people coming in, huge amount of interest. I think the lady who was running a clay workshop thought she'd have a few people in. They were queuing. We couldn't find enough tables for her to do clay work with. So that was a great success. And there was a music night in the town hall, which I understand was another success. There's a pop-up shop at the moment where people who are connected to Kingdom House have donated items, and that seems to be very popular. We're busy with preparing and submitting funding bids. We know that the Co-op has chosen us as one of their charities for voting on. So we are we're working incredibly hard to try and raise this £100,000 that we need by, I think it's May next year, so that we can have the Tavistock Heritage money. So lots going on. It's generated a huge amount of community interest. There's lots and lots of people who are very supportive of Kingdom House and want to see it be a great success. So fingers crossed that everything will work out.
Councillor Moody, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I also just want to add to that list there is the pop-up art gallery in King Street, which is members of the Drawn to the Valley group of artists. So it's a very, very worthwhile art exhibition to visit.
I take it this is pop art, is it?
It's not. It's a pop-up art. But it will also be open on Dickensian night as well.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else got anything to report back? Councillor Squire.
I should add that effectively, since West Devon made the possibility of housing for Syrian families in West Devon, I am effectively the local councillor represented on West Devon Safe Havens.
Right.
In Tavistock we now have a Syrian family, and in December there will be another Syrian family joining us. So I feel the council should be aware of this change in our constituent structure, and that's not a formal representation. I just happen to be a councillor as well as being on said body. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lord, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Some of you will know that I'm Secretary of the Tavistock Twinning Association, probably will be Chairman from tomorrow evening. And I wonder whether members are aware that 2018 is the 60th anniversary of the establishment of twinning between Tavistock and Pontivy. I understand that there is a copy of the Twinning Charter in the Mayor's Chamber in the Town Hall. And I just wonder whether members have any thoughts about whether and how this event should be commemorated in collaboration with the Conseil Municipal in Pontivy.
No comments? No? Okay. So, anything else from anyone? Sorry, Councillor Squire, you're looking sort of quizzical or inquiring or something?
Very, very perceptive, Mr Mayor. I should think that we should at least think about what we can do in the light of our neighbours' twinning. I have been upon TV as well as Sulla and endeavoured to twin wherever possible. So I think we ought to support Councillor Ward and his endeavours in this area. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to have a small working party to look at it, or Councillor Ward?
No.
Do you want to self-select, or do you want people to send expressions of interest in joining that party to the clerk, or what? How do you want to deal with it? People like to just write, if you want to actually get involved in in that
Yeah, send them into the assistant for that.
assistant 10 o'clock? Yep. You all happy with that? I think.
Friday.
Does it need to be as quick as that? It can be, I suppose, yeah. Okay. See the assistant to the town clerk after the meeting and give her a hand, clear up the room and give you names at the same time. Item 10, to receive such communications as reports. There are none. Item 11, there are no urgent items brought forward. So I will now go to Councillor Mrs Ewings, who will perform the next necessary business.
Move to part 2.
Thank you so much, Councillor Ewings. Seconded.
Let me turn off the live stream.
Yeah, that's fine.